and then floated out, came out of my body, and I looked back and I was like, oh my God, that's me lying there on the bed, but it's not me. I'm here. So if I'm here, who is that there? That my body isn't me. I'm not my physical body. And I realized that all my limitations were tied up with my physical body. And when our sense of self is insulted, or when our body is insulted, we suffer, but we aren't actually that body. We aren't actually that limited sense of self. We're much bigger. So it literally changed my life.
Trust flow, surrender, let go. Trust flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for. Trust flow, surrender, let go. Trust flow, surrender, let go. Trust flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for.
Welcome back to the Highest Self podcast. My name is Sahara Rose, and on this podcast, I love to talk about spirituality, but make it modern, fun, and grounded and relatable so it can actually serve your needs. I've been rolling with this podcast for over 8 years now, and I've never yet had a conversation on astral projection. So we're going to go there in this episode. This is a personal friend of mine, Jade Shaw. So maybe you have had an out-of-body experience, and maybe it was like through a dream that you're like, was I in another dimension? Did that really happen? Or did I just imagine that? Or maybe through past life regression, which for me has been the big way I have shifted into different dimensions of myself. And I feel like you might be asking, why is this even important? And sometimes we can get so stuck in like this matrix where we're so focused on our problems and they seem so big and we're so deep in the human experience that sometimes it takes zooming out to remember that we are these eternal souls traveling across time and space and simultaneously having all of these different experiences in the now moment, because past and future don't even exist. If you know, you know. And it can help us realize that this like little thing I'm going through right now, the guy not texting me back or my boss being rude to me or whatever the thing is, it's like, zoom out. How is this like a little fabric, a little wave related to the greater ocean of maybe a big karmic lesson I'm here to learn, you know? And I realize the times that I zoom out, whether it's like even thinking of me as an old person looking back on my life, or even what was I in different lifetimes? And I'm like, oh, bitch, I'm Queen Nefertiti. Like, why am I even stressing about this right now? It helps me just see things from a higher level perspective. So I'm excited to dive in, and most importantly, how we can connect to these different out-of-body experiences to really amplify this lifetime. So she is an expert on this, teaches about this, speaks on this. And before we drop into this episode, be sure to hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. That is the best way to stay up to date on the latest episodes. We've got this in video format, so if you're just hearing my voice, be sure to also watch our fabulous outfits on video as well on Spotify, YouTube, or the Apple Store. This is the best way to stay in the flow with future conversations and also allows the podcast to reach more people. So hit subscribe so I can keep vibing with you on all future episodes. Now let's get into this one. Without further ado, let's welcome Jade Shaw here on the Highest Self podcast. Welcome, babes.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to know, how did these out-of-body experiences start for you?
Yeah. So I was a kid and I would find myself, all of a sudden the bed would be vibrating and then I'd suddenly be hovering above my body and I'd be like, oh my God, this is so scary. What is happening? What is going on? And I had these for many years. And then I realized if I slowed down my breathing, I'd bring them to a stop. Forgot about it. Didn't think anything at all. And then several years later, I'm in my late 20s. I run my own dance company. I've like forgot all about it. And I pick up this book on the shelf and it's by Robert Monroe, Journeys Out of the Body. And I start reading it. I'm going, oh my God, this is what was happening to me as a child. Like these vibrations, these weird energy floating out of my body, seeming to connect in different dimensions. Like, is this what happened to me as a child? So I thought, I'm going to try some techniques. I'm going to give it a go and see if it's quote unquote real. You know, I thought maybe it's just a lucid dream. I'd done that for many years. Maybe it's the same thing. So tried some techniques, didn't work for a whole month, gave up. But one night, went to the toilet, came back and found myself dropping into the vibrational state. This is the bit where you just before you leave the body, you might sense lots of vibrations. And then floated out, came out of my body and I looked back and I was like, oh my God, that's me lying there on the bed, but it's not me. I'm here. So if I'm here, who is that there? That my body isn't me. I'm not my physical body. And I realized that all my limitations were tied up with my physical body. And when our sense of self is insulted or when our body is insulted, we suffer, but we aren't actually that body. We aren't actually that limited sense of self. We're much bigger. So it literally changed my life. And then I left my whole career in dance. And at the time, I was trying to raise funds for investment for a 4-year project I've been trying to get money for ages. The British government had just said, yeah, you're going to win it. You're going to get the investment. And I'd had the out-of-body experience. And I said, I'm so sorry, but I can't do this knowing what I know now. So I quit a 15-year career in the dance and then went back to university to do a master's degree in transpersonal psychology. So I studied the self-transformative effects of out-of-body experiences for my dissertation. Then that got made into a peer-reviewed paper and published in a journal. And then it all took off from there.
So powerful. It's like source redirected you of like, okay, this is your dharma and we're going to have you have this like tangible experience. So what are different types of out-of-body experiences we can have? Like you mentioned lucid dreaming, like what are different forms?
So lucid dreaming is a dream in which you know you're dreaming. It's not actually an out-of-body experience. In fact, dreams are even astral projection.
Okay.
Yeah, so phenomenologically speaking, at least from a Western scientific point of view, it is basically a near-death experience. So, when people go, oh my God, I floated out of my body and I saw what was going on and I had this connection with my dead relative or got this message, came back to my body, and then boom, their lives often change. So that's what's called a forced out-of-body experiences. There's 3 types. One is your mind or your body will be injured or feel fear, and then you'll have a spontaneous one. Or you will be in an altered state. So on the cusp of sleep or meditating or even on the massage table, you can just find yourself floating out of body. This is a spontaneous one. And then you have self-initiated, which is what I teach and many spiritual traditions teach, which is triggers to actually evoke it for 1,000 different reasons. Enlightenment, self-actualization, manifestation actually as well. So for those sorts of reasons, yeah.
So would plant medicine be considered one of these?
This is where I'm going to get controversial and everyone is going to throw their arms up in the air and I'm going to ruffle lots of feathers. No. Technically, at least, okay, from a Western psychology point of view, within science, it would not be considered an out-of-body experience because although there are some overlapping sensations such as energy, feeling of time being different, maybe connection with different entities or receiving messages, you haven't had that sense of leaving. You can do that. You can shut your eyes, go into an altered state, take yourself through a tunnel into a beautiful field, receive some information. You still haven't left, but you still have connected to those other places, but you haven't had that sense of that shift, which from some spiritual traditions would be the soul or the spirit actually leaving the body, not connecting to it from within the body. So it is literally that sense of leaving from a Western point of view, which is an out-of-body experience. So I did ayahuasca a few times before I'd had my out-of-body experience. Then I had the out-of-body experience separately.
So maybe like Bufo would be more of one. I've never sat with Bufo.
Yeah. So I did Bufo as well, and I still wouldn't consider it the same. And I know, again, that's quite controversial. So I've had Bufo and DMT, and reality dissolves. But you are here in one place, reality dissolves, and then you have access and you're in this space. With an out-of-body experience, you shift out, full on Doctor Strange, the movie, into this reality, and you're floating around as a separate entity, effectively like a ghost. And then you can look back at your body lying there. Unless you springboard from psychedelics and then have that feeling of leaving, as opposed to reality breaking down, what we call total body dissolution, then maybe you can springboard into an out-of-body experience from it.
So when you go into, and I want to break it down more, but when you go into these out-of-body experiences, where does your soul go next? If you're seeing your body there, like, where do you go?
Yeah.
Or did you like take a trip? Like,
just go visit your friend, go spy on your ex-boyfriend.
Exactly.
Why not? See what they're getting up to. Ethics. I often say we have ethics of what you can do. So you feel like you are leaving your body and then you can enter what appear to be different realms or dimensions. And depending on the spiritual tradition, they would say you're going to various different places. So you could have a universe, like a cosmic out-of-body experience. You could have one of this reality, this physical plane, which we call the ethereal plane, which feels like it is now. And that's where you could visit your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend.
Why isn't he watching my stories anymore?
No! Oh my God, he's with her. No, I know what you was wearing. I saw you.
Sign up right now. I know you want to. No.
But it's funny we're talking about this because back in the 1980s, the CIA learned astral projection in order to try and spy for various purposes to get power and see what other people's military was doing. And Joe McGonigal, who's a very famous astral projector, he was one of the lieutenants there who was very adept at it. And he was able to go out and retrieve information and come back to his body. So technically, from this kind of angle, that is totally possible. And there are many traditions, some shamanic and Tibetan Buddhist traditions that use it for those practical purposes as well.
Honestly, it's time for you to get out of the spiritual closet because you have incredible gifts that you are here to share. Your message, your story, your wisdom. I know it inspires your friends, your family members, your colleagues, everyone you meet, but it's time to actually be able to share it with the world. But I know what you might be thinking. I don't know what to post. I don't feel like I'm a confident speaker. I hate the sound of my own voice. Well, if this is you, I was exactly in your position. And this is why I've created my Speak with Soul method that has led to me and over 3,000 people moving from awkward to confident speaker in just 21 days. So in this method, I go so much deeper than giving a TED Talk, but rather it is about the energetic transfer you are here to admit. It's about the tone, texture, quality of your voice, how to share a story, how to be a channel, how to really listen to what your soul is here to express beyond the mind and into the body and spirit. So you're going to learn about what type of speaker you are, how to effectively share your story, and end off the 21 days recording your own podcast intro, which, by the way, you need to have me on one day. So if you're interested and curious, I have a code for 20% off right now. You can head over to the show notes, speakwithsoulcourse.com, and use coupon code podcast for 20% off. Again, that is speakwithsoulcourse.com, coupon code podcast. And I have that link in the show notes. And I'm so excited to see what you create. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. So how can we use it for healing? Can we go into different times of our lives, or is it more for actually going in physical locations?
Yeah, both. So you can enter what appear to be different time periods, different dimensions. One thing I will say is you can do shadow integration, so heal trauma and out-body experiences. So we have a projection plan. So you go, okay, what do I want to do? If I left my body tonight, what would I go do and why would I go do it? And so that could be to heal my childhood trauma, to be able to overcome this fear, to overcome this limitation, or actually find out the solution. What is blocking me? And this is where we really dive deep into what we call the dark realms, which people are often scared about, particularly when we come from a dualistic nature, like I am me and everything is separate and I don't want to go there. I've seen a shadow. It's a dark entity. It's going to possess me. It's going to attack me. The 3 irrational fears I often say people have. Actually, what if that is an unhealed, personified aspect of ourself that is waiting to be seen and heard and illuminated, and it has a message or some healing for us? And I often say, if you come across what you might consider a dark place, can you stay in it? Can you be there? And can you actually go, why am I here? And call that out. If you see a shadow or you see something you're unsure of, can you say to it, what do you represent? What do you have for me? What is your name? Why am I being taken to you? And there often is something that is incredibly valuable for healing. Maybe it is related to that trauma that happened as a child and something fragmented off from us. And then we can integrate that back, as Carl Jung said, individuate, make ourselves whole again, which in turn releases a lot of fears, a lot of blocks that is stopping us from achieving dreams, finding our purpose, being the fullest expression of our best self effectively.
I want to dive more into that realms of, those fears. So when people do meditations, like inner child meditations, where you go back to your childhood self and you have a conversation with her and you hold her, would that be considered like this kind of astral projection, or is astral projection something different that you have to like more be under a hypnosis?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be considered the same because anyone could do that. We could have an experience right now that would be going into the unconscious mind and connecting with psychological archetypes such as the inner child to then have that conversation we always needed to have with ourselves for healing. So it's using active imagination which is similar to shamanic journey. So you could use breath work. I use this technique called state, which is state stacking. So I hack sleep states, use breath work, use visualization. So it's layering different types of altered states to hit the first step. So there's 3 steps. The first is the mind awake, body asleep state. Mind is awake and aware. Body falls asleep completely till you can't feel it anymore.
How long does that take?
It can take anything from a couple of minutes to half an hour, 45, depending on whether someone's very anxious. Do they struggle to relax? Are their mind's always busy? So it depends. So that's the mind awake, body asleep state. The second is triggering the vibrational state, which not everyone goes through. In fact, only 30% of people feel it. So we don't want to hook onto it like, oh my God, I must feel the vibrations. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to exit, because you might not. So we have that transitory phase, the vibrational state. Then the third step is, we call it exiting the body. I don't like the word exit because we don't know anything actually leaves effectively. But the feeling of separation is that, whoa, I'm leaving my body. And when I taught the cast of Behind Her Eyes, Eve, the lead actress, we were doing a workshop and she managed to get her astral head out of her body. So she lifted up and was like, oh my God, freaked out, snapped back. Classic beginner, because you feel like I'm actually leaving, as opposed to going on a journey in your mind with active imagination. Yeah. So she felt that sense of separation and then came back to her body. And then we spoke afterwards how she could develop that more until she has the full blown experience. And it's often that first one that's the most transformative, because it's like you've got direct proof that you're a soul or a spirit. And you're like, whoa, if I can leave my body and I am more than the here and now, more than my mortality, what can I go and do? Where can I be? And how many lifetimes am I going to live? When does this end? Is it infinite? And that's amazing to explore.
So have you ever done quantum hypnosis healing technique, Dolores Cannon's past life regression technique?
I haven't done that, no. I've done quantum meditation stuff.
Okay. So yeah, in that one, it sounds a little bit similar, but you actually first talk to the hypnotherapist about your life for like 2.5 hours. You tell them your life story. And you're kind of like, why? And it's interesting where you go. And I've done it several times and I kind of end up telling different stories each time. And then they guide you through this deep hypnosis, but it takes quite a long time to get into the state. And for a long time, I was like, I don't think I'm actually hypnotized. Like, I feel like I'm just here and I'm making this up. And they're like, it's okay. Just use your imagination. Just imagine you're in this like vast space, nothingness, and there's an earth, and, you know, now look down and what do your feet look like? And what does your body look like? And what do your hands look like? And you kind of enter into this lifetime, and you're not really sure, again, if you're making it up or if it's something real that you're tapping into. But then no matter what the stories that you're telling afterwards, when you break it down, there's always parallels between that and your life, right? Because it's like, even imagination, where does imagination come from? You know, it's not random. We're drawing upon somewhere, right? So I'm curious with this, is it like that sometimes you're like, am I even doing that? Am I making this up? Or is it just like a completely different kind of experience?
You usually know when you're having one because it's so shocking. You don't question it. You 100% know.
Okay.
That's not to say you can't access the most amazing messages and experiences through a different modality. So there's lots of different modalities. You can do similar things through lucid dreaming, self-hypnosis, past life regression, and out-of-body experiences. So you can retrieve that information and it's really powerful and mind-blowing, but phenomenologically, not the same experience. However, you can springboard. So if you go, particularly that you said hypnosis. So hypnosis is one of the best ways to astral project. So I'm curious about that. So if you're using hypnosis, then you can find yourself there in that place, going on that journey, and then often you can springboard into an out-of-body experience. Yet you can still retrieve, you know, you can have a hypnosis, an astral project, and a dream, and you can still retrieve the same information. It's just a different way of getting there.
And can you guide yourself through astral projection? Or is that something that you have to be with someone or listen to something? How does it work?
Yeah, no one can give you an astral projection. In fact, if someone talks to you, you snap back immediately. So this is why it takes anywhere between 2 weeks to a month, but often a lot longer. So if people come to, and this is different. If you go to a shamanic journey class, you have a shamanic journey, it's fantastic. You get something out of it. If you go to an astral projection class, you learn the skills, you go to practice the skills, you put it together, you'll do it for several weeks, and then you might have an experience. Unless you are someone that has had lots of experiences before, then you might have one in class. But you can't get guided through it, because as soon as you hear something in the room, you snap back. You need absolute sensory deprivation for the ideal state.
So what are some steps we can take to begin practicing to open ourselves up in that way?
Yeah, well, the great thing is I know that a lot of your audience are very spiritual, so this tells me a couple of things. So they're going to get it, and don't tell anyone else. Your audience are probably going to get it more than anyone else.
Of course they are.
Of course they
the best
are.
at everything. Yeah.
And this is because people who are more spiritual tend to be something called transliminal. They are more connected to their dreams. They're more intuitive, often empaths, and they often can relate to others and pick up on things like energy, right? And if you've got those things in place, it tells me you may have a high absorption rate, which means that you can drop into an altered state quick. You're probably more connected to the spiritual realms than other people. So half the work is done. You're almost halfway there. So now you just have to put a couple of things in place to actually trigger that experience. So those things are, so something you can do when you go to bed at night is you're falling asleep, and I teach people how to hack the hypnagogic state. So this is, I don't know if you've ever had it when you're on the cusp of sleep, you see lots of colors, you might feel moving energy, you might hear voices or music, and you're like, oh, wow, that's really weird. So that's a hypnagogic hallucinations. When you get to that point, you haven't yet fallen asleep, but you're on the cusp. You want to apply a technique to then trigger a sense of leaving the body, so you don't fall asleep. And so to do that, you want to go, okay, what am I seeing? What am I feeling? What am I hearing? So you get in bed, falling asleep. What am I hearing? What am I feeling? What am I seeing? It's a mindfulness technique. What am I seeing? What am I hearing? What am I feeling? Now, what's happening is you're slowly falling asleep, and you're noticing these things. You start to see stuff. You start to hear stuff. Things start happening, and then you're like, okay. When you feel like you're on the cusp of sleep, then you do an exit technique. So for now, when you're in that place, see if you can have the intention and the felt sense feeling to, I'm going to step out of my body. I'm just going to sit up. This is the most basic one. It sounds so basic. You're like, how is that? That's so simple. So I want you to try and feel like you sit up out of your body. You might be thinking, oh my God, if I'm lying in bed, how do I sit up out of my body if I'm not moving my body? So it's with strong intention. And you might say a command, out of body now. So I'm going to feel like, okay, I'm going to sit up, and at the same time, out of body now when I'm in that position. Now, this is the cool bit. People think this is scary, but it really isn't. This is my favorite bit. It's the sense of leaving. Some people might shoot out, and it's like, already happened. There's this feeling of the wind, and you're taken out. You might land in your room or a different realm or dimension. You might spill out of your body. It literally happened to me 2 days ago. I was having a nap, and I started to tip, and it's like you pour out of your body like milk, like syrup. And you feel like, oh, I'm going. And you go with it. Surrender, accept, just go. And you go with that spilling out of the body. It's like your awareness is pouring out of you, and you kind of end up in like a ball on the floor, and you can be different sizes. Sometimes you're really tiny and you fall down the crack of the bed. And sometimes you're really big and you're floating above your body in your room. So this is the exit point. And then you've got to stay calm. So I'm going to teach you the RAIN technique, which I totally stole from Tara Brach, who's a famous mindfulness teacher. So recognize where you are. You're out of body. Oh my God, just stay calm. Recognize, oh, I'm in a room. The beautiful Sahara. We're having a conversation. Oh, I'm out of my body. Recognize. Accept. Accept is often hard if you feel like you've come out in a scary space. So you've got to accept where you are. Otherwise, you have no control. So, okay, I accept I'm here in this room being filmed for this podcast. Then the next one is identification. Don't self-identify with where you are. For example, I've come out into a heavenly realm. It's beautiful. It's golden. There's a divine being. I must be enlightened. I must be a guru because I've come out into this beautiful heavenly realm. So don't self-identify with where you are. And then N is non-identification. That's what we just said. Hang on, I've missed one out. I was investigate. Sorry. So you want to investigate where you are with detailed attention, then don't self-attach with any stories or narratives over why you're in the space. And this is one technique for navigation. Because if we don't hold those emotions, we will snap back to the body out of fear or excitement.
I remember when I was a little kid, I had this like canopy over my bed that had all these like flowers and vines, and I would just stare at it before I would fall asleep. And they would turn into all of these different shapes. And as I was falling asleep, I would end up in this different dimension where it was like my hands were really big and it was like all of this vast space around me, but it felt very overwhelming. And I couldn't like I was like just kind of like floating with these like big hands and just felt very stuck, and it felt very chaotic there. And I remember like being afraid of going into that realm. And so I'm realizing as you speak, I'm like, I likely was astral projecting or beginning to, but I wasn't accepting of where I was going. And so I developed this fear of it. And I remember also, as a kid, you're so open to these things. Like I had this dress that had a rose belt on it. And like sometimes my soul would go inside the rose belt and I would enter into this other portal through there. And I would always find portals places, but I was always afraid of like where I would end up, because then it got mixed up with watching like scary movies and stuff that I always thought I'll end up with Freddy Krueger and Boogeyman and all of them. So it's interesting now because I think I and many of us have developed this fear of like, well, if I'm not in my body, then who's going to be in my body? Right? Like, what if they say like alcohol comes from the Arabic word al-ghul, that like when you drink alcohol, it's an extringent of your soul that these like lower vibration entities can come through. But again, that's like an unconscious way of leaving your body. So how can we, like, what is your thoughts on like spiritual protection of the body and not letting maybe lower vibrational entities, ghouls, unresolved souls kind of take you on a joyride while you're out?
I just want to first acknowledge, your natural ability to astral, but that's an actual technique. Hooking your attention, it's a self-hypnosis as well. Hooking your attention onto something, whatever you was looking at, kind of falling asleep. And then you did a conscious waking technique into astral projection. And the feelings you told me, the transition and the big hands and then feeling scared, classic astral projection.
Is the big hands a thing?
Yeah. You can look down and be like, oh, my hands are so big. Or you can be like, you can look down and then not have a body. You can just be like a floating point of awareness. And then that can be a bit weird.
And this chaotic realm, is that a place I'm going to?
So if you think about the limits of consciousness, there are no limits, arguably. So there are infinite potential dimensions. I often say, imagine if a light came down into a prism and our consciousness was in this prism, in this like little pyramid, and this light comes in and it goes, it mixes with our own mind, all the juicy things, the messy things, the exciting things, the things we don't want to tell anyone, the taboos. And there's all these beautiful colors. And then a rainbow splays out the other side of this beautiful prism. That rainbow is the different dimensions we have access to. So it's interwoven with our own consciousness, the places that we can seem to go. So it would be somewhere you were taken that could be, sometimes it's random. You're just like, I'm in this random place. And then sometimes there's something for us there to find. So it may be that there was something for you there to explore, or it could have just been where you were at in your mind state at that moment.
Totally. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on spiritual protection of the body while you're astral projecting?
Yeah. Again, I'm very controversial. I don't do anything at all, but I become an advanced astral traveler. So when you get past the dualistic notions of fear, then you don't need to tend to do any work. So in my beginner's school, in the first month, we do exactly what you're talking about, spiritual protection. How are we going to protect our energy, protect our body? Because most people come at it from a dualistic notion of, I am here, something leaves and something can get in, which is the shamanic view, right? There are many different belief systems. That's the shamanic view. So one technique which I will teach people, because that is very prevalent in the spiritual community, is you can breathe in, and as you breathe in, you draw the energy up through your feet, up through your body, through your central channel. And then as you breathe out over the top of your head, you imagine a shower coming out of the top of your head, energy coming all the way down with a protective bubble around you. This is one of Robert Monroe's technique, which I've developed. So you breathe in, imagine energy is coming up through the central channel, out the top of the head. This beautiful energy is spraying down, creating this bubble. And as you take each breath, that bubble around you gets stronger and stronger as the shower comes out and the energy comes out. And at the same time, you imagine cleaning your system like a river so that all of any stagnant energy that you may have in there is just being blown out the top of your head, poof, and kind of dissolves around you as it creates this shower. I added some extra stuff on for extra protection. So then you can take your hands once this visualization has formed around you of energy, and you can imagine that you are placing onto that an affirmation or a symbol of protection. So I'm from Tibetan Buddhist background, so I often say in a very deep voice, which is cutting through ignorance, protection, and purification. You might say Om Mani Padme Hum. Many people connect with the compassion mantra, or you might just have a cool symbol, like full-on Lord of the Rings. There might be some cool writing that comes up. Whatever your spiritual tradition is, you can imprint that symbol onto the bubble, and you imagine that it's lighting up in whatever way that you like. And then you can let that visualization go, and then you can start your practice from there. But I don't do anything at all because I don't believe anything can get in or that I can be possessed. That comes from I'm very secular in psychology, so that's where that is. Also, when you say something can get in, you actually create that reality to unfold because it's within your belief system. So if you're into quantum physics, things like simulation theory, holographic universe theory, or many worlds theory, there might be a belief that every action that you do, there's an opposite one. So if you believe that, I want to protect myself because I don't want something to get in, then you create the potentiality for that other reality to unfold because of that belief. But so yeah, I don't do anything, but that's something very strong. And we work on resolving fears, limitations, different things. I actually teach people how to meet negative entities that they would feel that could possess them. It's called the 3-second stance. So the 3-second stance, okay. Imagine, right now, if you're listening to this, oh my God, boom, I've just come out of my body. I'm in a different place. I don't know where I am. It's a realm. I see something. Looks scary. I don't want that thing coming near me. I don't know what it is. 3-second stance, stand your ground. This is the first thing. So you just stand your ground, connect to your power, and then strong affirmation. Why are you here? So you can say, why are you here? Or what do you represent? To get some information from that. So there might be a voice or a message. You might get it telepathically. It might do an action. You might get something that happens. Suddenly the world might change. You're in a different dimension because you're being shown, you're being taken somewhere to see why you're having this connection. And that's when often a lot of healing can take place, because if we do buy into the shamanic belief system of duality, then that entity has been attracted for a reason, right? So then if you're on that frequency and you're vibrating on that frequency that's attracted that said entity, then you can find out from it the reason why it's there, which is a classic old spiritualist and also Wiccan, quite witchy way of looking at it. And then you regain power. And I'll give you an example of this. I had an out-of-body experience through sleep paralysis. I teach people how to master sleep paralysis as a gateway, which is advanced because it can be scary. And I come out of my body and there's like this disfigured demon-looking, looks like it's been burnt all over its body. And I've had many experiences like this, over 200 dealt with these. And so I come out and I'm like, why are you here? Who are you? And it kind of crawls towards me. It's like, and I'm like, oh my God, stand your ground, 3-second stance, connect to your power, boom. And it comes closer and it goes, what did he say? He said, I'm your unresolved conflict with money. And I was like, I was so overwhelmed because it's not just you hear the message, you feel it. There's a shift internally. You feel it. And I was like, whoa, there was like an unlocking. And then I shot back to my body. Like, oh my God. So this creature was an embodiment of something I'd suppressed within myself that was related to the conflict of money. And it's true, I'm from a working class background. I have these ideas that money is bad, wealth is bad. I don't deserve abundance if I'm doing something that isn't hard work. So I was able to then go, okay, this is a sign. If I ignore this, it's going to get stronger. It's going to shout louder. And it's always going to keep visiting me. So unless we heal it and shift beyond that frequency and rise above it, then it will keep shouting because it's part of our shadow. I call these shadow out-of-body experiences.
It's so true. And thank you for sharing that, because these demons really are our own, right? Our unresolved conflict with money, our unresolved conflict with the mother, our unresolved lack of trust with life, anger at God. Oh my God, I had a lot of anger at God. Sometimes I'm like, God, can I redo the system? Like, why don't you, I have a lot of ideas, but it's interesting because it's like, then, yeah, it's so easy to project that on like, oh, it's like, and again, who knows? I don't know. I haven't died and come back, so I haven't been able to ask these questions yet. But some people see it as like an actual demonic force and satanic and things like that. And for some people, it's like, it's all part of us. And again, I think it's like whatever we believe we become. And I've done plant medicine journeys, and interestingly enough, I never interact with those. Of course, I feel discomfort. I'm humbled, but I'm always so surrendered to it that it never has to like scare the shit out of me, because I'm like, you're right, before it has to get so bad. And I think they like personify, even become like deities, when it's because they're thought forms that develop until they like have to literally take on like a thought form personality for us to like have a conversation with it enough for it to alleviate. I'm curious your thoughts on astral projecting and visiting like other galactic, families or, ancestral lineage. Like, do you visit other kinds of things, beings?
Yeah, I more do ancestral work because you can actually, out-of-body experiences through science now can actually change your intergenerational trauma. So what I mean by that is out-of-body experiences can heal your intergenerational trauma by changing the expression of your gene. So I'm really interested in ancestral work. So that's what I've been focusing on. I'm not that interested, to be honest, about connecting with, I don't know, aliens or star families. I'm like, okay, what can I do and change for me right now in my life in this situation? As opposed to going and having a chat with an alien, although it sounds super cool. And I have had some experiences. And in fact, I'm not supposed to say this, so don't tell anyone. I got invited to a private retreat at Astral in Big Sur. A group of people from around the world did, all flew in. There was the quantum physicist, Nassim Haramein, and a couple of gurus, a few other people. And it was because we all had areas which could potentially connect with aliens and other beings, and astral projection being one of the core ways to be able to do that. And how can we open those conversations with those other beings and entities in a way that is very level-headed, grounded, and balanced, so that we can bring it out into the world without it kind of being classed as woo-woo. So they pulled in scientific people that specialize in these fields to have these kinds of conversations. But I'm like, you should need to go to the spiritual community. Go to all these guys. They've already been doing it. They've been doing it for years. They're having conversations every night. Yeah.
So, okay. So you lie down in bed, you feel yourself either dripping out, or you do the sit-up method, and then you feel your soul leave your body, and now you're hovering above your body. What happens next?
Projection plan. Okay, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? That's the key, by the way, the why, the meaningful reason. I could go down the road and look at what my ex is doing so I can come back and then freak them out or something. But the universe or the higher self or the unconscious mind is not going to get on board. It's not good for you. It's not going to be
like, bitch, come on.
Yeah. Your higher self is going to be looking down going, really? I'm not going to get on board and help you with that. But if you are like, okay, I want to leave my body to meet my dead mother to heal my grief and make sure she's okay, have that last conversation, that last message with her, then your higher self is going to be like, let's do it. And it's going to help you. It's going to really open that door. But you also might want to be like, I want to heal that childhood trauma. or I want to explore the nature of reality to see, am I more than my body? Am I more than what I think I am? So there are a number of different reasons that we can do this. And one of the ones for me is self-actualization, self-transcendence.
So you just declare it and then you're brought there?
Good question. It can be both. Sometimes you declare it and the environment can just take you there. Sometimes, and this is what I teach, is you actually prepare it beforehand as part of your practice. So you would do it in a meditation before you lie down and do all of the things, or you would do it as you're falling asleep. You would concentrate on that. So when you come out of your body, you're already in that dimensional realm because you've preceded it with intention. You've incubated an astral projection experience. But also you can travel there from A to B. So beginners often travel like they do in the physical body. They will come out their door, walk down the street, go somewhere. You're usually flying. Most people fly, but you go from A to B in a linear fashion. Advanced astral projectors teleport. So you would think of the place, you would have a strong intention to go there, and then you just find yourself there. Full on Star Trek, beaming down from the Starship Enterprise, you land in a place. Depending on your awareness at the time, how strong it is to control the experience, coupled with the dimension you've come out in, like what type of dimension is it? Some are more thought responsive than others. That will determine whether you travel there A to B or whether you actually just teleport.
So once you're there, are you actually the person in the experience, or are you narrating the experience and like watching yourself have it?
Like an out of body experience.
Yeah, like let's say I went and I visited my deceased grandmother to have a conversation with her. Am I like now in it having a conversation with my grandma, or am I watching myself have a conversation with my grandma?
That's a really good question. It depends on the type of OB. You can have double perception out-of-body experiences. So you can come out of your body, have the conversation with your grandma as you out-of-body. You can then come out of body and witness something in time that has already happened. So it could be something in the past where you had a conversation with your grandma and you're witnessing that situation. But here's where it can get triple perception freaky. You can come out of your body and you can kind of have an experience of your grandma having an experience of you. So you tap into what she wants to say, but not from outside having a chat, but more from her own consciousness. So you feel and experience what she feels as opposed to chatting with her at a distance. Yeah.
And then how do you continue to know that you're in this out-of-body experience? What if you just think I'm having a conversation with my grandma, you're just in it? It's like a dream.
How do you mean?
Like, do you ever just get like actually just not lost in it, but thinking that this is actually happening?
Yeah, usually that's one of the, like, if you think it's happening, like, oh my God, I'm here having a conversation with my dead grandma.
But are you, is it like lucid dreaming? Like you're remembering I am here on an out-of-body experience, or are you just like in the room with your grandmother and then you like wake up and you're snapped out of it?
It can be both depending on the level of the experiencer. So if you have an out-of-body experience and you don't recognize it, you can have this wow, powerful thing, come back to your body and then go, oh my God, I was just out of my body. So it's retrospective. But then other times if you know the feeling, like I know now when I'm leaving, I can sense it and feel it. So
and the whole time you're aware, I'm having an out-of-body experience right now. This is not real. Like, are you remembering that the whole time? Or,
so or
doing like an anchor, like checking if you have a shadow, you know, the things they say for lucid dreaming?
So I'm going to answer two things there. And this is one of the things why people, they say it's more real. The most commonly reported phrase.
By the way, I had no shadow. Are we in a dream right now? Is this real?
It's a sign. So here's a question. Going in from saying it feels more real than reality. That's the most common phrase that people have. It felt more real in reality, more real than this reality right now. So how do you know you're not out of your body right now? Having this conversation in an astral plane.
Right.
So the reason why I love this, I love philosophy, is it feels this real. So usually people are like, oh my God, I left. It's why they can have a spiritual crisis afterwards. It's why I changed my career. I done ayahuasca 5 times. Was amazing, profoundly transformative. I didn't change a 15-year career in the arts, had an out-of-body experience, and I was like, this is more real than my real life. This is why it's not simply imagining.
So do you feel that right now we are astral projecting?
Not from the place of which I'm speaking about right now, from like psychology. I don't feel like I'm out of body right now. Philosophically, we could say, well, it depends what you mean by consciousness and soul, but could potentially there be 70,000 Jade's experiences, 10,000 realities at the same time right now, and I'm just one of those that has experienced this, and that feels very real to me. We can get quite far out into it.
Because would you say our soul is just in one place?
Yeah, so I when I teach, I don't say a soul or a spirit is leaving the body. I do if I'm referencing certain spiritual traditions, like shamanism believe that the spirit is leaving. Buddhism, they say you're actually projecting your self-awareness. So I don't have an answer because I don't have a belief system that I operate from. I don't think consciousness is limited to one thing. I like the idea of panpsychism, which means that everything to some degree has an element of consciousness, not necessarily awareness. Like this chair, for example, would have an element of consciousness. And that suggests that maybe reality could be consciousness itself. You know, the old idea of you're experiencing yourself separate from the universe, but we're all interconnected, like that vibe. So in science, it's like panpsychism is the closest theory to that. So I lean towards that, but I think it's even more mysterious, even more complex.
So going into the astral projection, let's say I'm having this conversation with my grandmother, then how do I close it? And what's the process of coming back to my body?
Yeah. It's very hard to stay out. Almost all beginners will snap back, get overwhelmed, snap back, retrieve something, snap back. So part of my job is to help people stay out and have longer experiences. As soon as you think of your body, you almost snap back. Occasionally, time and space might feel different and you might feel like, oh my God, I'm in this for ages. I want to go back to my body. Just think of your body. I've not met anyone yet that hasn't just thought of their body and they haven't snapped back. Oh, maybe one actually, but she was very deep in trauma at the time. So yeah, you almost snap back.
So most people never make it to the point of like, okay, we're closed here, time to go back.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes the experience will end when you've got what you need from it as well.
Mm-hmm. And do you, like, once you have that now, does that shift your reality? Did that shift the past occurrence? Like I went back had the conversation with my grandmother and now my entire lineage has shifted, or is it just for my personal awareness?
Do you mean like, are you affecting others through the experiences and they shift as well? Mm-hmm. I personally believe that. And that's why I think it's so important with those experiences that may appear scarier, like let's say the entity, because I think we directly affect them. So the reason there's a link there, there's a tie between us of why that is happening, this connection with the said being. And when we heal whatever it is that is attracting it or operating on that frequency, that in and of itself has a transference of energy, and then that gets healed. And this brings me to sometimes also it's not about you. Sometimes you're being called somewhere to do healing to others. So then you can help whoever that is or the being that needs that, and then you come back. But usually something is shifted within yourself as well as the other. This has been my personal experience.
Yeah. You know, in the shamanic realm, they say that the healing work that we do is affecting 7 generations before and 7 generations after. And I have noticed, you know, any kind of healing I do, it's like all of a sudden my dad is interacting with me in a different way. And it's like subconsciously working on them as well. And it's almost like you're like cleaning out the cabinet of these different like, you know, relationships and intergenerational patterns. So what has been the kind of work you have done for healing your ancestral lineage?
I think I'm actually still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually still doing it. Something that I've noticed in my family on the women's side, we all have ADHD, at least 3 generations back. And we all tend to attract controlling narcissistic men. So, and I didn't know this until I met one and fell in love and had the whole, everything that comes with that sort of relationship. I had 3 out-of-body experiences before that occurrence and part of that relationship that warned me of it. It was prophetic. So you can have prophetic astral projection experiences. So they show you something that is about to happen. And I ignored them because I was in love. And one of the experiences was I came out of my body next to him in bed, And he was, an aspect of himself was showing me that it was narcissistic. And then I came back to my body and ignored that sign. A second one was I came out of the out-of-body experience, and for some reason I saw kids' pajamas on the floor with Mickey Mouse on them. And he was in the experience as well, and came to attack me. And I knew it was to do with children and attacking. So I thought, oh, okay, I need to pay attention to this. And we spoke about maybe having a family. And several months later, we went to Disneyland, and he was there, and he was being very aggressive. And there was the same kids' pajamas that I had seen hanging on a hook. And at the time, I was deciding whether to stay and have a family or whether to leave. And it was the same feeling, the same clothes, the same temperament as the out-of-body experience. And I recognized it in that moment. I was like, whoa, it's happening. And I'd had another out-of-body experience that was going to show me what would happen if I stayed in the future. So I thought, I need to listen to this. And I should have listened to the first one. And so I made a decision to leave that relationship. It was very hard. I lost my sense of self in that. And then through exploring that, I noticed that my mum had done something similar and my grandma had done something similar. So then I decided to heal my ancestral line through out-of-body experiences with this, why are we attracting these women? Where is it coming from? What is the energy? So that when I have a daughter, hopefully, she won't have that within her system to be attracting that. So it would change your genes, and you can literally change the expression of your genes throughout our body experiences. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's so relatable that I feel every empath, spiritual woman has had to dance with a narcissistic man. It's just like a part of the learning curve here. And to notice that, and it's interesting because I wonder if your soul saw the future and saw that day at Disney and was showing you a glimpse of like, you're going to recognize these children's clothes. You're going to feel like this. It's like anchoring a memory in you. So then when it actually happens, you're like, oh, I've been here before. Oh, it's that. Now this is enough evidence for me to take action.
And this is exactly I agree with what you're saying. And it's why I believe when you have out-of-body experiences, it gives you something called polyphasic perception, which a lot of indigenous communities have, which is the ability to recognize these dreams, these out-of-body experiences, these other mediumship experiences, whatever they are, gives us the signs, the messages. We just need to pay attention and look at them, which is why it's one of the most profound well-being practices, because you can then make your decisions in life based off all of these astral projection journeys, not just my one physical life, which is like, it was, I don't know.
So how do you know sometimes if what you see in the astral projection is literal or metaphorical?
In a quantum type state, I think it can be both and neither, which I know is really weird and maybe confusing and what, but it could be both. It could be either. But yeah, how do you know it's something from yourself or something completely separate? This is why I say to do the 3-second stance, so that you can tune in, use your intuition, stand, ask a question, and then you can make a decision whether you go back to your body or whether you choose to stop and engage. But ultimately, are they separate? Are they both the same? We don't actually know. It's our own judgment.
It's like dreams. How do we know if that dream is actually prophetic, it's something that's going to happen? Or how do we know if that dream is just a mashup of everything in our consciousness and it's like just playing out the TV show that we watched and the Instagram story and like, it's just things that we saw, like, you know, some philosophies say your dreams are like the junk coming out of your brain. So it's like, it's hard to know. And sometimes you only know until that thing actually happened. You're like, I did dream about that. And then you have lots of dreams that hopefully don't happen.
No, exactly. I think this is where intuition comes in. It's really hard to know. And a lot of the times you don't until it's happened, like you said. But when you use intuition, there's often a feeling that's different. You kind of know, okay, so this feels like it could potentially happen. And Graham Nichols, who wrote the book Navigating the Out-of-Body Experience, he actually says there's a certain type of state which shows it's prophetic, which is a kind of a blue kind of tinge. And a few people have reported that, and then it's happened. And by blue tinge, I mean like reality has this blue haze. I haven't actually experienced that, and my experience was prophetic, but that's interesting.
Have you ever astral projected into your future life?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. I had an experience through movement, which is quite rare. You can astral project through movement, like the whirling dervishes in the mystical element of Sufism. They blur the boundaries of the physical body, which helps with total body dissolution, and then they have out-of-body experiences. So I was doing it through movement, and I had an experience of seeing my older self, really, like 90, 100. Oh my God, she was so wise. She had the beautiful eyes and she was looking at me and she kind of took my hand. She didn't say anything. It was very telepathic. And it was just like, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to be anyone. You're already here. You're already your fullest self as you are. And this is the most joyful and wonderful life you're going to have. Just be. Just be here now. And she, all of it through the eyes. And I was just like, okay, I'll do that. Trying to be like, I'll try. But it was just a sense of presence and telepathy in that sense. And so much was said in that moment that it gave me such resolve in terms of just chilling the fuck out and being calm. And okay, I need to strive on the edge of my seat to do all of these ambitious, crazy things. I can actually just lean back into my life because it's already in flow.
I remember meeting my elderly lady self, and she was in her 70s, this version of me. And she lived in looked like a jungle or something, like Costa Rica, in this like pagoda, like open air house. And she had like a plaque, like a wall of all these like plaques, and she had win like Grammys and Oscars and like all these different like creative pursuits. And she had like short gray hair. And I was like, before I was like, I'm never gonna let myself go gray. And she was just rocking it, colorful outfits. And she had a new boyfriend who was like 73. And she was like, my new boyfriend. And like, she had grandkids that were older, and she had children that were older, and the grandkids. And I had so many questions for her. And it was like, yeah, that sense of like wisdom and allowing me to zoom out and not be so focused on the problem of right now. And, this actually happened. It was like right after my divorce. And she was like, you still follow Western beauty standards right now. And it's okay. It's just where you're at. And like, so like loving with it, which ended up being my journey of stopping wearing makeup and like all these different things. And it was just so beautiful. But then sometimes I wonder, I'm like, so is that like guaranteed to be me? Like, do I already know how it's going to pan out? Or was that like one of the quantum realities that I could become? And I don't know. And then on Wachuma plant medicine, I did not think I was going to have children. I met my children. And it was the most profound love I've ever experienced in my life. And now, I'm so single. I'm like, am I having these kids? But that whole journey was about embodying the mother archetype. So I'm like, was that metaphorical or, and it's like, I guess one day I'll let y'all know,
And I feel like what you're touching on there is probably the most important thing with out-of-body experiences, often seen as the most boring, but actually the most profound is how we make sense of our experiences. Is it real? Is it not? Is it literal? Is it metaphorical? Is that me? Is it not me? And whatever the meaning-making system that we bring to these experiences, actually, that's what creates the transformation. That's what creates our reality to unfold. Because whatever we've experienced is how we feel about it. That then leads to potential realities.
Yeah, because that happening and experiencing, because my intention of it was show me everything holding me back on true love. And it was a number of journeys. And that last journey, showing me my children, it just reframed how I even see love, period, And so whether I honestly do believe, like I really believe the visions that I've seen, and I actually do believe one day I will become that old lady because they aren't the things I wanted, and I think that that's how we know. Because if it's like, oh, everything's going to work out exactly how I wanted, it's like, okay, we're playing a role in it. But when it's like something, like sometimes I'm like arguing with it of like, no, I'm supposed to be over here. And it's like, nope, this is you. This is you. I'm like, that is coming from something beyond me.
Whoa, yeah. I love that when you get something that's so absurd or so like, really? Is that, no, that's not in alignment with where I think I am right now. And this is what I love when atheists have out-of-body experiences and they have an experience of God and they're like, well, I don't believe in God. How am I having an experience of God and I don't believe in God? And then they're shook. And then that effectively breaks down their identification and they become more believing in something else. It's actually happened to quite a lot of people in the studies that have felt that they're atheist or agnostic. And it's because of that completely absurd thing that they think, hang on a minute, this doesn't feel like it's aligned with me and yet it feels so true.
And I feel like we need to have these like big life shocks, these big redirections, whether life creates them for you through a dark night of the soul, whether it's astral projection, whether it's past life regression, whether it's plant medicine, something that reframes everything in your life, because otherwise you're just going on the conveyor belt. You know, like you might make these little shifts day in and day out, but it's like you quitting your job and taking this other complete career path, realizing you're meant to be a mother, like realizing this thing. It's like nothing else will cause you to make such a quantum shift than like actually having that experience, because now you're like, oh shit, like that is meant to happen. And now it's like, who do I need to become? Because I think it's like, these are realities, but it's not guaranteed. And it's also like how much time it will take. You know, it's like, how much of your own shit are you going to work through? How courageous are you going to be? Like, how honest with yourself are you going to be? Because that reality of being with the love of your life in your dream home could be on your deathbed. You had one glimpse of it and you're done, you're gone. Next lifetime, you know? Or it could be like, I'm really going to be honest with myself and eradicate what's not serving me. And it could be like next year.
No, exactly.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on this podcast. Where can listeners connect with you and learn how to astral project with you?
So I'm getting my website redesigned, but you can add me on Instagram, Jade Shore Official, or drop me an email, info@jadeshore.com.
Yeah.
I have a free handout and a free quiz so you can see what type of astral projector you might be. So you can download that and give it a go and get some free resources as well.
Amazing. Well, we'll have that link in the show notes. Wow, this was a out of body conversation, to share the least. This is a really good one to share with your friends and be like, what did you gain from this? Like, have you ever astral projected before, or had a lucid dream or an out of body experience? And just to really go there. I feel like a lot of us have these things, but we have no one to talk about it with. So this is a really good conversation. Like, put it in the group chat, be like, we're all going to listen to this and like, let's talk about it. What does this mean for us? And you might honestly get to know your friends, your spouse, your family on a deeper level by having this kind of conversation. Who knows, maybe y'all are going to astral project to ancient Egypt together and invite me over. Thank you. So be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to this. It's on YouTube, so you could be watching the video, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay in the flow for future episodes. And I'm so grateful to have you here. All right. Have a beautiful day.
Trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance. Close your eyes and listen. Surrender, let go. Surrender, let go. So trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner